What's up, everyone? Welcome to the channel. Today, we're doing something a little crazy. We're going into Tarkov with no armor and no helmet. Now, in the past, I've done light armor and I've done no helmets, but I've never tried to do both of these at the same time, and frankly, I'm not even sure if this is actually possible. We're going to be playing with some semblance of a glass cannon build. However, this is going to be an extreme challenge to test my skills, positioning, and as always in this game, luck. Let's see whether I can actually survive and really accomplish anything with this setup. In the first couple raids, my aggressive playstyle proved to be particularly at odds with this strategy, forcing me to change my tactics in later raids as I lose a fight here with a guy literally using a PB pistol. Going into the next raid, I'll be more careful to not only keep track of where I am on the map, but also think more carefully before taking engagements where normally armor and helmets would save me. Now on customs with an SVD, I'll try to keep in mind the lessons that I've learned from the previous raids. I hear fighting in Bastion near me, and I prepare to possibly ambush the players. I spot a highly geared player heading towards two-story dorms, and position myself to try to capitalize. After a few minutes, I notice them at the side of two-story dorms. I then proceed to miss most, if not all of these shots, but ultimately this strategy has already proven more effective. With those players now out of sight, I hear another player approaching me from behind near Skeleton. I correctly anticipate where he's going to be, but ultimately he ends up peeking right as I try to go around this pipe. After getting trapped in the bush, he does severe damage to my thorax, and if I don't land a good headshot here, this fight is largely over. Now, to be fair, I'm not sure I can blame the armor or helmet for that one. Our next raid brings us to Ground Zero with a bit of a unconventional AK build. The lack of meta ammo has been a problem for me, however, in many cases, I likely could have won the gunfight had I just aimed for the head. This is true in this engagement as well, where a relatively low-geared player ends up absolutely mopping the floor with me. Not so much due to my lack of armor or helmet, more so just being rusty at this game. Again, you can see me falling back to my more aggressive playstyle. At this point, I should probably just back off and or wait for him to push me as he does here, but instead I decide to press the advantage. I attempt to use the ACOG to get a little bit more zoom on him, but ultimately end up whiffing, and we are back to square one. For the next raid, I headed to Reserve, a map where I have a number of tasks, but also a place with a lot of buildings and indoor areas where I feel like the lack of armor and helmet will be less of an issue. After mopping up the scav, I hear various gunshots, probably from PMCs, and I attempt to push. Nearly every single door on the first floor is open, which makes me a bit paranoid about how many players could be lurking in there, but ultimately I decide to swing it regardless. I don't spot anybody in any of these rooms, but what I don't hear is the player pushing me from the basement during this time. Thankfully for me, however, the audio also seems to benefit me here, as he hears me go up these stairs, but he doesn't see me come back down, and ultimately I'm able to get my first PMC kill with this build. Other PMC bodies are strewn around the area. There's clearly been a huge fight in this medical building. Perhaps one or more people still stuck on that disease history task. Or maybe they were just drawn by the gunshots. I'm not entirely sure. I suspect that there's at least one, if not two more players, and I'm being pushed by scavs. But I attempt to hold out. The only 3 magazines I brought in is starting to really hurt me here, and I realize that to survive this onslaught of scavs, I will likely have to loot one of the PMC's weapons. The most likely spot for a player to be would be on those stairs, however, I don't have the ability to check that right now. And after giving it a brief scan, I quickly grab this other player's scar, hoping that he has some extra mags for me. I have heard that with the recent scav update, if you're the last player alive in a raid or in a large area of the map, the scavs will start to push you, which I believe is what may have happened here. But ultimately, it will prove that there was in fact another PMC here, so I'm not entirely sure if there was just a very strong concentration of scavs in this area, or if the AI for some reason didn't realize there were still other players in this area. Running very low on ammo, and with numerous close calls to scavs at this point, I realize that I will have to go grab the player's gun, regardless of if this makes me vulnerable to any other players that are still in the building. He's quite geared, but I can't grab his armor or helmet. Ultimately, I will end up amending this rule, as I feel that this challenge is already hard enough. I think not being able to loot ammo and armor and helmets off of scavs would be a possibility, but I think that not being able to loot off of players just doesn't make much sense. I want to make sure that there is actually some incentive for me to PvP, rather than this video just being 10 minutes of ratting. After whiffing multiple shots on the scavs, I'm ultimately taken down by a player who I do believe was on the stairwell going to the roof that entire time. It's doubtful that the armor or helmet would have made a considerable difference there, but in the future I will be using armor and helmets off of players. However, I will not be using them off of scavs. After that series of admittedly demoralizing and frustrating raids, I decided to do a quick scav intermission. I find a few task and valuable items that I need, as well as some meta ammo that will ultimately be valuable in my future raid. I find an unlooted airdrop as well, but of course it's one of the worst ones possible, so I grab the meager amount of loot in it and I head towards the extract in the East Wing gym entrance. I was able to barter with Ref for a kitted out MP7, and the APSX I looted in the previous raid could potentially be incredibly valuable against players. I do say potentially, however, as you will see, the ammo/gun really would not have made much of a difference. I proceed to get taken out a good 20 minutes into the raid by a player sitting on the mounted grenade launcher in Bastion, possibly doing the new explosives quest to unlock the rocket propelled grenade launcher. I suspect I will never know. For my final raid, I decide to go with more of a budget weapon that fits pretty well with this glass cannon theme. Ultimately, for the next part, I will be trying to focus on playing more around the idea that I am in fact a glass cannon. Thank you for watching. There will be a part 2 coming soon. And thank you so much for coming to the channel. Please like and subscribe.